How did you get into the fashion industry?
Well, I was working at Chick-fil-A and Mellow Mushroom at first, and I never really Chick-fil-A was a lot of work for minimum wage, and it was an industry that I wasn't really trying to get into because it felt like I wasn't doing anything but feeding people, you know? Like people that could just go out and get food wherever else. And I was seeing that Chick-fil-A was just, I don't want to be, no, I don't want to be shaming on Chick-fil-A right now. But they would just throw away some food that like they just couldn't use anymore. I'd be like, bro, this is kind of like making me mad. Like they're just throwing away good food. So I was just shoving food down my mouth, because it was just like really good food just going to waste. And I was like, all right, I can't do this anymore. This is really making me mad. And so went to Mellow Mushroom, way better. But then just decided that same feeling didn't really go away because I felt like I wasn't doing anything with my life. Like I felt like I was just doing like something just to make money, and I didn't want to do that. Like I wanted to do something or get started to do something that would actually make a change in the world, and that I feel like would give me like a good impact on the world, because I want a very big beneficial impact to this world before I die. And so the bigger I go, like I'd have to start now type. And so if I wanted to have like the biggest beneficial impact I could possibly have, then I'd have to start working on it ASAP, and I'd have to come up with a strategic plan to where I realize my strengths, like my fortes, that could like push me to where I could actually have that impact. Because if I do it, like if I just started to become like a scientist, try and find a cure for something, like I don't think like I would be able to like do that best. But what I was always really good at was creating anything out of like pretty much anything. Like I have a very creative brain, and I can just really make an idea come to life in the best way possible. Because I have, well, all throughout, like I'm gonna go way back to like how like I really got into fashion and everything. So all throughout like my school years, pretty much, I would be very self-expressive. Like I didn't really care what anybody thought about me. I didn't care about any judgment. I never judged, so I didn't expect anyone to judge me. And so whenever I did get judged, I was just like, eh. Like it's just like you can't get mad at me. Like everyone has their own lives, which really like carried me through. And one of the biggest things that would like really tick me was when either my family or my friends would get mad at, or like not get mad, but like make fun of what I wear, and always just ask me why I'm wearing this, or like I need to go change or some stuff. And I'm just like, dog, like let me like express myself, because I know how to dress. Like I can dress how I want. I don't need you to tell me how to dress and everything. And that's something that always happened throughout my whole life, and I feel like that's what kind of made me push more towards fashion. And like I said before, like I was just creating all my life, whether it was just like really just knick-knack structures or sculptures, or just like some art pieces like paintings and everything like that. But then when I started making fashion, I started really falling in love with it, because it was a piece of art that I could use on the daily and see other people use on the daily, and like they could express themselves through my self-expression. And I thought that was like insanely beautiful. Like when I made my first tee, I sold out in like a day, because everyone loved that I made it. And so they were like, oh my god, I'd love to like represent you. And it just meant so much. And every single time I saw one of them wearing the t-shirt, it was just like my like dopamine. It was like a drug to me. Like my dopamine shot through the roof. I was just so happy to just see it throughout the school years, see it on the street, on like one of my friends, be like, oh my god, he's wearing it today. And then, like some people cut off the sleeves and like go to the gym with it. And I just started falling in love with that feeling. And then so that's when I started my Primary Ruler, which was my first brand. And it was more just like, I did graphic design back in the day. Like that's how it started. And so I kind of just put like digital art onto t-shirts and everything, and it would have a purpose. Like my first collection was during the Black Lives Matter movement, and so it was about the Black Lives Matter, and it was called Revolution, because the Black Lives Matter movement was pretty much a movement for love. Like it was a movement just to like ask and begging for pretty much love, like love back. And I realized all throughout history, like racism is one of the issues that was solved through nothing but love. Like, it wasn't solved through a war. It wasn't solved through nothing like that. I mean, like, there has been wars over racism. I guess not really over racism, just kind of like territory wars, but that's not really racism. But it was solved through just peaceful protests, like really inspiring motivational leaders who just showed nothing but love and led the people in that direction, and it solved it. And now we're like way more of a unity than we ever have been before. And I wanted to show people that. Like, I didn't want people thinking that Black Lives Matter was just like where everyone was just trashing all these businesses, and it was much more than that. Like, people were focusing on the bad perspectives of Black Lives Matter just to kind of just like deteriorate it. And I was just trying to show back in the day how there was much more to the movement than just all these protests. Like, it was actually kind of like a symbolism for like all the change that has been happening. And the collection was also kind of just like a trophy for everything that has happened, like where we're at now. Like, we're literally living in unity, and people don't really realize that. Like, people are still stuck, or people are thinking that they're judging them when really they're not. And sometimes they are, but it shouldn't even matter. Like, everyone has their people, and as long as they have their people, then we're good. But as long as, like, the more people we have, the more love we show to everybody, then the better the world will be. And like, the more we can live in unity, and everyone will be so much more happier that way. And so I really wanted to show that through that collection. And so those pieces are a lot more like, I got fluffy fabric. Oh wait, no, back in the day, it was like those t-shirts that I was saying before. It was very blank, but just like the graphic designs that I had on them.
For like streetwear.
Yeah, way more streetwear. Like, I was just starting, so I was just gonna get the screen printed on some t-shirts, get it sold, and then we're cool. And I was donating 25% of the proceeds. And then I just really, out of nowhere, like, I just felt as if they weren't doing like any justice, like, really, because 25% of the proceeds of like this $25 t-shirt, like, what is that gonna do?
That's a lot, bro.
No, like, it was still there, but like, I wanted to like make the piece better so I could sell it for more, generate more money.
That's what I was saying, because 25% is taking a lot out of your profit,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But like, at the time, like, I was living in my parents' basement, like money wasn't the biggest thing to me. Like, I was comfortable, I was still in college, like, I had the time, so I was like, I wanted to do it. And so I decided that I was like, these t-shirts aren't like, I don't want to be represented through these just blank t-shirts. And that's all Primary Ruler was for a while. And I started like really hating the name Primary Ruler too, because it just didn't, there wasn't really a purpose to it. Like, I heard it just one day come out of my sister's mouth, and I was like, she was calling someone Primary Ruler. I was like, that sounds so sick. And so I decided to make it, and it really had no purpose. And so I knew that fashion was something I wanted to do, and I wanted to own my own art brand. And so I decided to really just evolve what I was doing before. And so that's when I came up with Corbin. And Corbin was, actually no, let me rewind.
So that's sort of like the transition that like Virgil Abloh had from Pyrex Vision to Off-White. So would Corbin be your Off-White?
100%. Like, Corbin is something that definitely, as soon as I created it, I knew for a fact it was that. Like, I knew for a fact it was what I would be doing for the rest of my life. I actually got like chills as soon as I created the logo, created the name. Like, I knew like it was meant to be. Like, it literally felt like destiny type shit.
And so what are some of the challenges that you faced while like starting up Corbin?
Starting up Corbin, it was, well, the main challenge was I was trying to do school while working with Corbin, and so that was very, very difficult. While I was making my first collection was my first semester of college, and so that was a pain in the butt trying to like juggle them. But I went to SCAD, and luckily they really helped me through it. Like, they were really, like, college was something I was always like excited to go for, and I never knew I was gonna go to an art school. And so when I went to SCAD, it was kind of felt like Hogwarts. Like, it felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. And so, because all of my classes were like art related, like my history class was art history. I loved it. I learned so much. I got inspired through that class, through artists, like previous artists. And then all of my fashion classes, like, they dug deep into how we need to be more sustainable with fashion. And like, that was the main thing that they kept on cracking down. And I loved how they did that. And so that kind of really helped shape Corbin. But the time management I was struggling with was like trying to make my first collection and then work on school and like really get the best grades possible so I could like get the most knowledge, because I was really just going to college not for the degree but really for the knowledge and connections. And so I was really just trying to learn as much knowledge as possible while working on this collection, because it was my job. I didn't have another job. Like, my job was selling clothes, so I really had to finish this collection. And I ended up falling so much more in love with Corbin, and I knew before that I worked really well. Like, I learned so much on my own. And so I also tried to like kind of like coexist them, like college and Corbin. Like, I would try and do my SCAD projects based off of Corbin. Like, I would just try and match, like make or fit Corbin within the rubric of each project, so it could be like a Corbin themed project each time. And so I could use it for Corbin too. Like, I can make advertisements, marketing for Corbin, also doing a SCAD project. And I loved doing that, but I started veering away from the rubric a little bit. And then that's when I started like plummeting in school, because I put a lot more time and focus on Corbin, because I just fell in love with it. Like I said, like, I saw the vision and all the pieces were there. And then I started like not failing in college, but my grades started going lower. And so that's when I was like really in the split. And then one day at SCAD, one of my teachers was saying, I was doing this project, and she was talking about how there were like rules to fashion, and it like that really just like got to me. I was like, there are just absolutely no rules to art itself. There are rules to like forming like a garment, everything. Like, you have to like do the right mathematics to get the right angles and all that within a pattern, but the creating side, there should be no rules. And she was trying to tell me that I couldn't add a certain type of pocket on the front because it was a patch pocket, it was meant for jeans. I was like, dude, how are you gonna be like a SCAD teacher and then not get that right, you know? Like, tell these kids what they can not, or what they can and can't create. And that was kind of one of the ticking things that got to me. But I also realized going to SCAD that as long as I'm in a place like SCAD, like we're surrounded by artists, that the connection building would kind of just come natural, because I'm very good at networking, and especially when you're just always wearing like your brand, it's kind of easy to just tell people about it or like get the topic rolling. And so I realized I didn't need SCAD to build those connections. I could really just be there, be in Savannah or in Atlanta or New York or California, a place where it was surrounded by artists, where I could just really just collaborate, work with artists, help promote them, they'll promote me, and then kind of change the game to where it's beneficial to the world, not about money and drugs and all that. Because another thing that I'm trying to do with Corbin is, like, my target audience is artists, because the artists have a huge influence on the whole world, like everybody in the world, especially through music. And so I like working with musicians to try and like get them while they're in like the new underground Atlanta, like while they're in Atlanta in the underground, to make their music about like issues that could actually help benefit the world. Like, it could be raw and gruesome as long as it's like doing justice for the world. Like, we need to make more music that's for bettering society rather than just getting people lit. Like Kendrick can do both. Like, you can actually do both. You can get the lit while telling like a really deep message. And I feel like we need to definitely go more in that direction with not just music but all art, because honestly, like, I know everyone knows it now, we're leading ourselves towards extinction. So we only have like, it's a ticking time bomb, whether it's our generation or the next, but we're gonna deal with it at some point, and we can stop it. And so like, art and music can definitely have a huge influence and impact on that. And that's exactly what I'm trying to like do through Corbin, is lead that direction and path, to show that it's not just like cheesy to do this.